We brought something for you guys today. You guys are gonna be the first audience to see the trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry.
Hey, what are you doing?
Checking you out.
No, there's no behind the scenes. I know, cause you're spoiling everything.
Chad is no longer with us physically, but his spirit, his passion, his genius, his pride in his culture, and the impact that he made on this industry will be felt forever. Standing here with y'all right now, I promise you I can feel his hand on me right now.
There is a lot of grief and pain in this film that resonates in a way that sadly is connected to a reality. Chadwick, of course, the understanding of what it meant to really show a world like this it came from him. Like him and John Kani, who played his father, was an iconic South African actor. They came together during Captain America and said, let's put Xhosa in this film right here and now. They set that precedent that said, we're going to use this very beautiful and specific African language, and it's going to become the Wakandan language. That set the precedent for the world of Wakanda.
The first Black Panther film, so much of Africa was being celebrated rather than exploited, which is something I think we're more used to. And it was really giving credit where credit was due, and people were so excited to see themselves. And there was an embracing of culture, of ethnicity. There was just like a reminder that we all come from very rich histories.
Oh, stop it. Yo.
While we were shooting the first Black Panther movie, we became more than just actors and collaborators. We really became friends along the way. The entire cast, we became very, very close. And we all suffered an incredible loss when we lost Chadwick.
No, you have to keep working. Oh my goodness. Bad news, you have to keep working. Oh my goodness. Oh, man. I mean, you don't get past a loss like this. It's something that you learn how to live with, I think. For me, it was about realizing how blessed and lucky I was to have had the opportunity to work with Chadwick before he passed. And he wrote a statement and said playing T'Challa in that film was the honor of his life. I was moved by knowing that our time together meant something to him, because it definitely meant something to me. And it was kind of there, I was like, oh yeah, we gotta keep going. We gotta find a way to do it with the people who he cared so much about.
A sense,
Yeah, I think how I see this is,
yeah.
you don't use combustion technology in practice.
Yeah.
You understand it. It was an interesting exercise for me because it wasn't my first time making a sequel because I had done that with Creed before, which was like a spiritual sequel and like a proper sequel to the Rocky films, but I never like made a sequel to something that I had made. I mean, if it stays on their head, just one rotation, I think will be enough. Yeah, but keeps them in focus. They're just not that fast around, like half that speed, I guess. One of the questions that we would ask ourselves when we were like in the early Blue Skies phase, what is a Black Panther movie? Like, like we know what Black Panther is, but what makes it a Black Panther movie? Like if we were to do another one, how would it fit into the world? Like how would audiences recognize it?
We mourn the loss of our king, but do not think for a second that Wakanda has lost her ability to protect our resources.
Nice work. Got it, guys. Listen up real quick. Yes, sir. Hey, I just want to say thanks to everybody for a hell of a first day. It's all a beautiful scene. It means a lot to be back to work, especially on this one. We gotta honor our good friend and collaborator, fellow artist. And it feels like we off to just like an amazing start. I want to say thank you to you guys for today, and thanks in advance for the other 90 some odd days we got to go. Just a big thank you to you guys so much.
The themes are pretty strong here. You see the themes of family, of protection, of love, of care, all in one place. And I just think that's beautiful for us to explore because many people are feeling that, especially with the years that we've just had, you know, so many loss. We can use this film to show people like, hey, like, we feel what you're feeling, you know, we can connect to that, we can relate, and hopefully that gives people an avenue to express how they feel and just come to terms with that. So there's so much that's happening in this movie. It's beautiful, really.
For me, Wakanda is a symbol of home. It's a symbol of belonging. It's a symbol of community and the identity of community and how we hold on to each other to move forward. And now, in the second film, there's been an expansion to the world of Wakanda. That's been fun for those of us who are from Wakanda to be like, oh, so this is what this neighborhood looks like. Oh, that's dope, you know? And to learn more about this incredible nation.
These are ginormous sets. I've been very excited about building everything. We've got Little River Town, which you did not see the last time, based on the river tribe, and their color is green. We wanted to bring that in, but we also wanted to bring in some other beautiful colors that you would see in textiles. So there's a real big variety in the color usage this time that I'm super excited about. You also get to see a little bit more of our capital city, Golden City. Think of Golden City like Manhattan, where you have the culmination of all the different districts in that one place. So there's a lot of different tribes that live in Golden City as it's their capital. The only tribe you won't find living in Golden City is Jabari. They are separate from the rest of Wakanda, so they live in this sort of southern snowy mountaintops. North Triangle is where Bashinga first put his sword down, so it is the oldest place in all of Wakanda, including the capital. It is also where Okoye lives. And a lot of the design in North Triangle is based on Denai Guerrero, a fabulous actress as Okoye, her actual country of Zimbabwe, and she is from the tribe of the Shona people. It's where Okoye feels most at home because of the tradition, because of what it represents.
I was losing my mind about some of these portrayals of various cultures, including my own. I grew up in a country that had recently come out of colonization when I moved there. And so to understand a nation like Wakanda existing, I understood how special it was. A nation that left you with that question, who would we have been as a continent had we never been colonized?
Wakanda itself is such a concept that we really wanted to come back to it and groom it. You see technology that's upgraded. You see new armor. When we do finally see this costume as a Midnight Angel, it connects directly to the comics. The Midnight Angels in the comics are tones of blue. So the design ideas came directly from the comics and also connect directly with the actor and the story.
Ruth will exhaust every possibility in terms of her research, in terms of connecting with other artists around the world to build this world of Wakanda. To walk into the warehouse and just see row after row after row, rack after rack, table after table of jewelry and fabrics and costumes that she sourced from Africa, from around the world, is just absolutely, absolutely amazing.
It has always been our policy to never trade vibranium under any circumstance. Not because of the dangerous potential of vibranium, but because of the dangerous potential of you.
I know so much more who I am when I put the costumes on, the embroidery, the jewelry within the fabric, the capes, the headdress. She just took it up a notch, and I felt so regal in each and every costume.
Ruth Carter obviously brought tears to everybody's eyes with like the beautiful costumes. I always say, like, Ryan's the smartest man alive being surrounded by a lot of women. Women department heads, and every woman on this show, there's a strength that you don't often see. There's a level of excellence.
We had to develop a brand new military faction that wasn't seen in the first film, which was the Navy. I wanted to get a color story first and foremost. We know that the river tribe is green, so we started with a palette of green. You can combine all different types of green together and it just seems to work together really nicely. Also, the element of bringing in a tribal reference. We really wanted to give them a sense of Wakandan royalty as well, so we brought in the gold and the silver as an accent color. And they have hats like all military factions of Wakanda, but is different and unique to them at the same time.
This better not be a part of your ritual.
It isn't.
I remember talking about Namor being in Black Panther 2 while we were writing the first movie. He's always been at the top of mind. In the comics, the two worlds have a great rivalry.
Namor and Atlantis obviously are some of the oldest characters in Marvel publishing. Namor was one of the first superheroes, frankly. But for us to introduce Namor into the MCU, there needed to be something that really grounded it in a reality that felt like as tactile as hopefully the world of Wakanda feels. And in talking with Ryan and figuring out how to bring this character to life, one thing we thought was really interesting was viewing Namor through the lens of Mesoamerican culture.
In preparation, we knew that the film was going to be about Wakandans coming in contact with another place. Mesoamerica was something I was thinking about quite a bit. And upon research, it became more clear that the people of the Yucatan made a ton of sense. We would see images of them drawing themselves with blue paint on them. That was like the color blue that we were looking for from the Marvel comics that inspired the film. And you know, the more we got into it, the more we realized it was kind of meant to be.
This is our background area for doing the telekineal. These are the gills. They were grown digitally in the computer, sculpted in the computer, and then grown. We grew the mold and then mass produced that mold so we could knock out a lot of them.
These also have to go in water, so they have to be very durable. Now he's gonna go over to get painted. His whole body will be painted blue. And then he'll come back to me, and I'll finish him up. He also goes to hair and costumes.
Each warrior has their own fish or mammal that's signature to their look. Atuma has the hammerhead shark. The other warriors, some of their costumes use what appear to be shells and stones and whale skin, fish skin. They have their traditional Maya ear spools. The costume really does feel like this is something that has been tooled over time.
The way we went about making the first movie was with as much respect for the cultures that we were pulling from and for the audience. So we wanted to do the same thing for the cultures that we were reflecting in this.
Black Panther 1 for us was a big impact. Everybody kind of identify with that story. We suffer because of the racism and social cancers. Black Panther, it was like, oh my God, there is nothing wrong in us. There is nothing bad, you know, we are not broken. So it was important, and now it's our turn.
And the Mayans there's so much mystery around their civilization.
Action.
There's so much fertile terrain there to explore, their artwork and their advanced agriculture. All of these things that they accomplished, it just was a perfect palette for us to kind of delve into.
With Namor, we knew early on that it was like, yo, we gotta find out how he got this name. Because in the comics, the explanation for his name is relatively simple. Like, historically, they say they just took Roman and spelled it backwards. And it's like, well, that's not gonna work for us from what we're doing here. I had the thought, like, maybe somebody said something to him in Spanish and kind of curses him in a way, and that's how he got his name.
¿Quién es este niño?
On my mark in 3, 2, 1.
One of our collaborators came up with the idea of Sin Namor, which means no love.
¡Dispare! ¡Fuego!
That's what his enemies would call him. So that was how we came up with it for the film.
Sos un demonio. Un niño sin amor.
The child without love.
Namor's costumes reflect the tradition that he honors, and a lot of research went into that. His shoulder mantle and headpiece that he wears on the throne was curated from post-Yucatec Mayan culture. It's the snake, and we used a lot of kelp and things to make the whole headdress, and hand-wove his cape. But we kept it pure to what he looked like in the comics.
The elements for me, sort of the makeup effects elements, are his ears. I did a couple of iterations of those. And then we did a septum piercing on him. He's got earrings that the costume department provided, but finding his look on our actor was pretty easy, actually. He embodies so much of what I had read Namor to be that you don't want to cover him up with like fake eyebrows and stuff like that. I mean, he's got enough eyebrow there that I can give him a slight point, but he's got great ears for ear prosthetics, which was, you know, that was a gift. That was a bonus.
The Fishman.
What's great about Tenoch is that, like any great actor, in my opinion, he loves to play. He enters the scene with an open mind and ready to play and try things.
Action.
He carries a lot of gravitas, which the character has, but he has a lot of softness and potential warmth, which creates a really great dynamic.
For me to be part of this world, with all the respect, it's a dream.
Cut. Clean. Good job.
I've never imagined to be here playing this character. And I have the best allies around me, including Mavel
It was an amazing experience. I have a costume with Maya for the movie because Namor only speaks Maya in the movie. That was interesting challenge. It's really hard.
Ehentun. Yashkim se eshe, kolela.
It's really difficult, but because we have a lot of time, a lot of months with our coach for pronunciation and for memorize the line. But the big goal was on set because sometimes Ryan, he needed change the lines, and that was a big challenge because you need learn at the moment a new line, and it's a really achievement for us in that moment learn a new word in Maya.
Talokan! Talokan! When you look at Talokan, we kind of took inspiration from the temples that you see. And we worked with an archaeologist, and he's written books in Mayan, and he really helped us along with like how to get to where we needed to be as far as their history. But also being reminded that Namor never actually lived during those times, right? He never lived in Maya during its glory years because he wasn't born until they went into the water. So everything that's there is based on memory. So that's why things are just a little askewed, because he's remembering what he's been told and then what he saw before everything went into ruins. This is what's underneath El Castillo.
Right.
Which is Kukulkan.
How did y'all model the Tice is up, right?
Up, Mites is down.
Mites is down.
There's over 700 on both sets.
Jesus.
Yeah, they hand carved each one in about 3 weeks.
Amazing.
And then this is our sister cenote to the visitors' quarters. Those are hand carved.
The big.
It took like 6 weeks to hand carve those 10-foot stelas. And the faces are like kind of after Tenoch's face.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah. And then this. Everything's from Tulum.
Yeah, this one's my favorite one.
That's my favorite one,
Nice.
the Panther and Namor.
Yeah.
In the style of Bonampak. And the people are really brown, which is awesome.
It's pretty incredible, man. So much detail in all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is always just crazy. So how do they plant all this stuff? They plant this in real dirt.
Yeah, so
real
this
soil.
whole,
It's all living plants.
yes. And this whole stage is built on dirt. We cover the ground covering and then bring in the rocks. And, you know, this is deeper than any of the other tanks, so they can dive.
I want to go where the story requires us to go. There was this quote about how little we know about the depths of the ocean, and how the deeper you get down there, the more alien things look and seem. And so for us, we would talk a lot about this film being like a first contact movie in a way. We would talk about Namor as kind of being like a little bit of like a spaceman, and the deep ocean as outer space.
All set, 3, 2, 1, action.
And at that point, the movie kind of took on this specific identity of having these water scenes that are super tactile.
3, 2, 1, turn.
And I knew we needed to do it for real, as much as we could.
Hello.
And it made more sense when we had things happen that kind of slid our schedule. And we knew it's like, are we not gonna have a ton of time for to VFX every single water shot, you know what I'm saying? So it'd be great to try to get in there and do it.
For me, I love doing everything I can in camera. And it's really all about lighting. We had to take into consideration a lot of things because, you know, this city is so deep underwater that there shouldn't be any light. A lot of what we're used to seeing, underwater worlds, people breathing underwater, sometimes these examples can be overlit, that look a little fake, right? Like they're not underwater. So we had in our tank very soft light above pushing through.
Camera set.
So that's kind of the believability factor if you're underwater, is like we have this soft ambient light that feels real, not very punchy, not reflective.
Go.
Absolutely everything is against you underwater. Safety's against you, time's against you, communication's against you. Movie making is hard on dry land. And you get underwater, the difficulty factor gets amplified by a factor of 100.
Great, and charts.
One of the issues we encountered is that a lot of the cast wasn't even comfortable swimming.
5 seconds, roll camera. Rolling.
I struggled with it. Ryan called me. He was just like, "Hey, Tish, can you swim?" I was like, Sir, I'm in the lab. What more do you need from me coming out of that lab?" So I had to learn to swim very quickly, and everybody was in their own little corner learning to swim.
Now, I've swam in a mediocre manner since I was little. I used to swim like a puppy, you know what I mean? Not anything that anyone wants to film. I had to become friends with the water. Yeah, you have to be so present when you're dealing with water.
5 burgers.
You cannot afford stage fright.
3, 2, 1. Actors going on.
You can't afford adrenaline, really. You can't afford to hurry. You actually have to slow all the way down and focus. And it was such a great lesson for performance in general.
It looks back great.
Right, I told her, are they coming after they get out?
Yeah, totally. Great. That's great.
Throughout the film, we don't really see anybody on actual scuba. The majority of it's freediving. You look at Tenosh's character, Mabel's character, they have to look not only competent, but extremely comfortable. Like they were born underwater. We have to get them to a point where they're so comfortable holding their breath, they're not thinking about holding their breath, they're thinking about acting and being in the scene.
The free diving is so fantastic and peaceful. When you are down in the tank, everything is silent and it's like active meditation in a way. And I can hold my breath for 5 minutes. That's my record.
6 minutos y medio.
Mabel is the single best freedive student I've ever had, and I've taught a lot of people how to breath hold. I think we could push her up into the 10-minute range if we had another week with her.
What's interesting about Namor and the Talokan is they're actually kind of super soldiers in water, so they're going to want to move through water in a way that the human body probably can't. So there needs to be an interesting marriage between the stuff that we shoot underwater wet for wet and some of the stuff we shoot out of water dry for wet, because they're frankly stronger and faster swimmers than any human on the planet. So there was a lot of figuring out to do between the different ways that Wakandans might move through water versus the Talokan. There's a lot of kind of math and geometry being done constantly to make sure that those two different groups of people are moving differently, but there is an internal logic to how everybody moves.
When we did our dry for wet, we were always trying to keep true to how light works in the tank. Since a lot of wet for wet stuff was shot first, we had a reference. So trying to make it look more real is kind of making sure that the rules, the scientific rules of light kind of stay true to when you're shooting it underwater.
You want these to maybe push a little bit?
Yes, I'll do. Okay, man.
You know, one of the most difficult elements of this film was the exosuits. It's a submarine that you wear with the arms and legs and everything. They make them for utility work underwater. Each of the suits is about $1.5 million. People don't realize that was wet for wet. Those were the actual suits. And using the exosuits in the tank was an incredible opportunity to learn. but it was a massive challenge.
If you can try to see past into the vibranium detector.
We had to all kind of become experts in them overnight. Well, the worst thing that can happen is the suit breaks. They go, no, the scariest thing that can happen is a fire inside of the suit. Yeah, it's pretty frightening. We definitely don't want that. So we had to develop, just like we do for all stunts, a safety plan for how those suits work. But it was pretty phenomenal, the end result. This is practical movie making at its finest, which in the age of like VFX is a very cool thing to see, right?
Alex, you ready? All right, here we go. Ready, and action. Okay, stand by.
I was intimidated. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I've seen Nakia on TV for years. You know, The Walking Dead. So meeting her, it was like, hi, how you doing? I'm Alex. You know, but she's been great. She's the one that I worked with the most, and she's been the most amazing person in the sense of, this is my first time in the MCU or doing something this big. And that fight on the bridge, you get goosebumps. When I first started and I actually saw the video that the stunt guys made for our fight, I was intimidated. I was like, man, that looks so good. Why should I mess it up? So it was a lot of training for a long time, for a lot of weeks. When I started, it was like I had 2 left feet. I couldn't move as well as they did, but through time, I got it. You know, I started dancing, as they call it.
Something that was very, very important was to highlight what Denai could actually do as Okoye. Because I think it's important to capture her on screen, you know what I mean? We could always go to a double. That's easy, right? But Denai put in a lot of work. And I think actors are different than your average stunt performer, because a stunt performer will try to definitely, not all of them, but they will try to sort of do everything physically with more grit, but an actor thinks about the emotion behind it.
Cut it.
Let's do one more, I'm sorry, Bob.
Reset.
Do you want me to get right next to the camera? Yeah.
There's more weight, and so when that translates, you get something very, very special.
In Okoye's mind, there's no one who's gonna top her in regards to combat. Doesn't matter what their size is. It doesn't matter what their musculature is. It's like, I'm too skilled to be taken down by y'all who just came off of a killer whale's back. Cute, but let me just get to work. So that's how she thinks, you know. Take another step closer, and I'll kill you all.
I really wanted to make Atuma just bigger than everybody else physically to create that intimidating size. So yeah, a lot of working out and a lot of eating. I was eating like every 10 seconds. You know, I was consuming about 6,000 calories a day, and I gained 30 pounds.
You're gonna see Atuma be large, look intimidating, but be swift. Denai is gonna be different. She has to be extremely tactical about how she attacks, because this guy is extremely powerful. So you're gonna see her calculated. You're gonna see her rarely on the ropes, but you're gonna see a little vulnerability here. She's never faced anyone like this before.
With Okoye, what I was deeply attracted to was, from the jump, Ryan was very clear about how he wanted her to be.
Drop it, and then
kind of going like this.
And the way, you know, the idea of her being a general, the idea of the Dora Milaje, and then the traditionalism of who she was definitely something that really helped me anchor her, because her connection to her country was so passionate. This is a woman who actually really enjoys her life, and she loves being a Wakandan more than anything. But, you know, when you're being told you can't be a soldier anymore, and that's all you've been and that's all you know, that's definitely a dark corridor. But that's the arc she has to take. She never thought she'd ever do anything but die for Wakanda, you know, in that uniform. But when that's taken off, now who are you? And that's what she has to find, and that's what she ultimately finds with the Midnight Angels.
I'm excited about the cultures celebrated in this film. I'm excited about the new characters that will be introduced to the world, especially to see how Dominque's portrayal of Riri come alive is so beautiful, because Riri's now in Africa, and Riri is now a reflection of T'Challa's decision. She's a result of T'Challa's decision in saying, we're gonna open our borders, we're gonna stretch our hands out and help.
We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe.
When we were making the first film, one of the things that we kept talking about is that, yes, Wakandan is extremely African, right? But in terms of their mentality, because they are, quote unquote, on top of the world, they are only concerned with themselves. And in a sense, that's a reflection of America.
I believe I speak for all the member states here when I say that I am deeply disappointed in Wakanda's failure.
So, in our narrative, Wakanda is that. And what Riri does for us is open up Wakanda for us to be able to relate and for other people to be able to see other perspectives.
Riri, I love all that she represents, and Dominque herself is extremely impressive. She's the daughter of immigrants, first child to go to college in her whole family. She just graduated from Cornell herself in the sciences, and she's playing this role. I just think that is so freaking cool. Like, it gets me teary-eyed. Hey. The poetry of it is that that's who is actually playing it.
You forgot to Venmo me.
It slipped my mind. It's 800, right?
800 was yesterday's price. It's a band today. My name is Dominique Thorne.
Dominique actually auditioned for the role of Shuri in the first movie.
The particles absorb the kinetic energy and hold it in place for redistribution.
And we really liked her, and we thought she was really smart, and she has a great presence, and she is funny, and she has a lot of attitude. But we remembered that audition.
Old tech. Functional, but old. Oh, people are shooting at me. Wait, guys, let me put on my helmet.
And so when we decided to put Riri Williams into Wakanda Forever, she was the first and only call.
This is her foray into coming into something that felt really established, and like we all had our own relationships, and she came in strong, holding her own, very prepared, and just willing to just go toe-to-toe with everyone, and that's her character.
Yo, we got him!
It felt very much like stepping into a family, stepping into someone's home.
Please show Miss Williams where she's working.
Right this way.
And wanting to enter in with the utmost respect and reverence for what it is and what they've done. But it was also exciting because sort of Riri's presence there, along with these new characters, meant that there was more to be found, more to explore. It was very, very fun and beautiful to sort of go on that ride with the folks who know the place best.
You see that in the story, Riri builds this machine and that Shuri's very impressed by, and it flies and it shoots and it does all kinds of things.
3, 2, 1, and blast!
Oxygen, 0%.
And it's also a very difficult costume to craft. It's actually, put together through some mold work, but also, there's metal work there. And it's also a costume of all kinds of mechanical parts. And you can imagine the plethora of pieces that would go into a costume like that. They were all discussed over multiple meetings, what these cannons do, what her arm pieces do, how she moves about. There was so many elements to that costume that had to be sussed out.
It's such a smart build because as heavy and as bulky as it is, all of my joints are free. And so I could step, I could walk, I could wave, I could squat. I could do all the things, but just with this extra weight on. I think it's probably most comparable to like football gear is what a lot of folks were comparing it to. And I definitely do feel like, oh yeah, like I'm ready for anything now, which is a great feeling.
On my call, and 3, 2, 1, action!
Got it, cut.
Right.
But the Mark II is, I think, where we start to see that sort of Wakandan flair sort of rub off on Riri. It has a much sleeker design.
There were a lot of discussions about how closely it would relate to the Iron Man costume. And Ryan wanted it to be Chicago Bulls red, and we moved the heart to the side, but only half of the costume actually was built. We built a maquette, which is like a doll, which was the full size that they're able to use with visual effects. That's kind of the movie magic that went on with that costume because it had to perform, such fantastical things in the air and spin and dive and all kinds of stuff that she would not have been able to do in a full costume.
Old tech, functional but old. People are shooting at me. Wait, let me put on my helmet. For now, tell you to go on.
Once we realized what the movie was going to be, what this version of the movie was going to be, I realized that it was a unique opportunity for me as a creative to have a protagonist just go on like a transformative arc.
I'm not my brother. Namor will beg me for mercy. And I will stand and watch as he dies.
And I was thankful that Letitia's such an amazing actress because this is not the role she auditioned for. You know what I mean? Like we're really blessed in terms of her being that versatile that she can make you believe that she was that younger sister who could have fun and with T'Challa and rib him and feel youthful and feel like she was full of love and light, and then become this character, which is a totally different thing.
Was the herb not destroyed?
Yes. I recreated it.
With science?
Yes.
For us as storytellers, I think Ramonda's passing was important in bringing Shuri to her lowest and really breaking down this girl whose spirit seemed unbreakable to see what the breaking point might be.
I just buried the last person who truly knew me. My heart was buried with her.
It was not a decision we made lightly, because Ramonda is a fantastic character and Angela Bassett is a talented actress and a part of the family.
Shuri, show him who you are.
I'll be very honest. When I read that Ramonda was going to die by the hands of Namor, I was very upset. I think I almost cried on the phone to Ryan. I was kind of like, what are you doing? Like, what is this?
I'm so sorry about your mom.
I guess it's... When you take an audience on a journey, it's like, you gotta grab them by the heart and rip it out of them, I suppose. But it took me a moment. I had to process it. I had to get over it.
For Ramonda, here's a woman who has been girded by loss, who has become a very, very successful queen of Wakanda and has done a great job in defending her nation from all comers. And yet her daughter is suffering from the depression over the loss of her brother, and it's Ramonda's job to try and pull Shuri out of this place and let her see that there is the potential to move forward through loss.
When that illness took your brother from us, I had to lead a wounded nation and a broken world. but I still took time in the bush. My most precious resource is my daughter at this point. You can imagine with her husband and her son gone, that her embrace is that much, tighter around Shuri. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that's what a mother does. She does sacrifice her life for her kids, And being a mother, I know this all too well. We'll do anything for them.
As we were doing it, I realized it did inspire Shuri's arc. It did really inspire that thirst for vengeance that you will see when Shuri takes on the Black Panther mantle. Very early on, Ryan explained to me where he was at, and he asked me where I was at, and he felt really strongly that Chadwick would want us to continue. He slowly explained to me how we can honor Chad in this film and how we can honor what was created by us as a family. And I started to realize what he was saying. And it was, for me, like a bittersweet experience because Shuri does become the Black Panther in the comic books. But I didn't have my brother to pass the torch to me. So I had to kind of process that. And once I felt at peace that it was the right thing, I accepted. And I said to Ryan, I'll do my best. And I made a commitment. I was like, I'll honor God and I'll honor Chad. When I put the Panther suit on, it was a surreal moment. I did feel pretty cool, and they incorporated a few Shuri elements from the first film. So Shuri had gauntlets, and they kind of incorporated those into her suit.
Essentially, we were working with the design language of silver being representative of T'Challa, gold being representative of T'Chaka, and a little bit of where Killmonger was coming from. In Shuri's design, we're essentially taking those two elements and combining them so that she's taking what works from each one of those methodologies and making them intertwine into her Black Panther suit, finding her own voice with the things that came before her.
My first day in the suit, I did feel really nervous. I was like, am I meant to walk like this? Am I meant to talk like this? And then I just kept hearing my brother saying calm down, it's cool, don't worry. And just keep going, just keep walking, and just be confident. Just be confident.
And here it comes, back at you, and duck!
And duck. Nice. Much more like that, okay?
When you choreograph a giant scene like that third act battle, you read the script, you just are drinking out of the fire hose. You're like, man, I don't know how we're gonna get all this action done. But then you start kind of breaking it down piece by piece. What are the main beats? Okay, they come out of the water. They climb the side of the ship. The door will come off beat, and then you have to just basically fine-tune things from there. So we had these huge days, 50-plus performers. We've got a crane up. We have warriors coming up doing organic falls. There's lines everywhere. It gets tough.
Yo. They have to make sure that they're committed. Once the person commits to the jump and you know it, they've gone beyond the point of return, you know that they're out there. You can release them. You can bring them down at whatever speed you want. We also have to make sure that in the choreographing of that scene, we got to have the people climbing up in such a way that they're out of the way when they're running down so they're not hit by accident. So everybody has to know where they're at. It's like a dance. Everybody needs to know exactly what step they're on.
Are you ready to bathe in the blood of Wakanda's enemies?
Some really great training is just the physicality of the Jabari. We get to dive a little bit more into that.
There will be no climbing here!
The fight training was really incredible, and I always try to make M'Baku feel like a strong man instead of like a bodybuilder or a guy that's about aesthetic. So he has a lot of weight culturally on his back, and he carries it with pride. And that's a really big part of what defines the character.
All the charts.
Okay.
Shuri versus Namor. We put a lot into that fight. And it's got a lot of heart, and there's so much weight behind this moment because you don't see a lot of Shuri, you know, in action. So when you do, it's got to be impactful.
Go! Yeah, it's a great payoff. I'm so proud of it, and Shuri's looking amazing. Namor's looking amazing.
But something that was very important to take into account was that Shuri is smart. She uses her mind before she uses her body. There isn't a lot of flash. There is more calculation. With Namor, when it came to fighting styles, I pulled from not only sort of cultural aspects like lucha libre, the sort of ball game that they go out and play with their bodies, but also I pulled from Asian cultures. I pulled from a style called Baji, and Baji is a style that focuses on grounding your body while delivering shoulder strikes, elbow strikes. So you're gonna see Namor do things that are unorthodox, but effective because he is the person he is.
Namor is more like, yeah, the fight is not an explosion, it's little by little, you know, he's more in control.
It was fun to play around with the wings, you know, special sort of like quick attacks, or him boosting. But also, I said, can we rip the wings off? Because they grow back, so it'll be fine. But it gives you an opportunity to humanize this godlike character and make him come to her. And so that's playing to Shuri being smart.
Shuri, look at me. See your mom. Call out to her.
Mother.
It's time to show him. It's time to show him who we are. Go get it. Go get it. Like you pack.
For Shuri, it's kind of like a coming of age moment where she's thinking that processing in a way of violence, Wakanda Forever! Processing in a way of expressing her pain and her fury towards Namor. She thinks that's gonna be satisfying to her soul, and it's not. And I think that's a beautiful way to complete that arc, to realize that, wait, my brother wouldn't do this, you know, my mother wouldn't want this for me. And she learns from that and she becomes a woman. You know, we see Shuri become a woman in her own right. Sometimes life imitates art and art imitates life. And I feel that this movie, the art is imitating life.
This is a movie about loss and about growth and about pain and the transformation that happens as a result.
More than anything, like, I think different people will get different things out of it. Like, hopefully you see something in it personally and it speaks to you in a way that deals with things that maybe you've been wrestling with consciously or subconsciously.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the picture finish on Miss Angela Bassett.
Ryan is such a big heart and such a great storyteller, and within the storytelling, what Ryan has done gives lightness and joy to our sadness.
Picture wrap of Mr. Winston Duke, ladies and gentlemen. It's also a picture finish on Miss Lupita Longo.
After Panther 1, what I was most excited about was seeing everybody who I worked on the first one with again. You know, we become like family. And then we lost Chad. And it kind of changed everything for this one, you know. It just became bigger in a way that was unexpected for all of us.
Having the support of Ryan, he just confidently just always just would say, hey, Tish, like you could do this, and just pushing me forward each day. You gotta keep inspiring people, and I'm praying that that will be the result for Shuri, that as she's growing and she's evolving, that later down the line we can be like, wow, that's a great woman, that's a great example to so many people in the world.
For my family of yours, we just want to say thank you deeply, 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 deeply for taking care of this story, for taking care of me, for taking care of us. And you guys enabled me to heal, you know what I mean, from something that was really difficult. So thank you for that. Wakanda Forever, DK Talokan, love you guys. Thank you.
I think part of the reason you make this movie is it changes perspective. People can see a superhero in a different light, different worldview, and to be a part of that is a special thing.